stern warning to Pakistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his address to the nation last night, said India will not tolerate or succumb to Pakistan's nuclear blackmail, and India will retaliate even at the slightest of hostilities from Pakistan-supported terrorists. Listen in to what Prime Minister said yesterday in his address to India.
भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा। हम अपने तरीके से अपनी शर्तों पर जवाब देकर रहेंगे। हर उस जगह जाकर कठोर कार्रवाई करेंगे जहां से आतंकी जड़ें निकलती हैं। दूसरा, कोई भी एयर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा।
Prime Minister Modi in his address also said India will stay committed to its fight against terror and is willing to act alone to defend India's sovereignty as well as the citizens. He made it clear without mincing words that India will not engage in talks with Pakistan for as long as terror exists, saying terror and talks cannot coexist. In a further blow to Pakistan's failed economy, Modi further added that terror and trade will not run in parallel. And in yet another sharp diplomatic economic strike on Pakistan, the Indus Water Treaty held in abeyance by India, Prime Minister Modi made it amply clear that blood and water will not flow together. Here's what he said.
भारत का मत एकदम स्पष्ट है। टेरर और टॉक एक साथ नहीं हो सकते। टेरर और ट्रेड एक साथ नहीं चल सकते और पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता।
All right, Prime Minister Modi there, not mincing word, making his stand against terror and against Pakistan-supported terror amply clear. Remember, the address to the nation by Prime Minister Modi was his first ever since Operation Sindoor kicked off on May 7th. Now, Prime Minister Modi, in his address to the nation, also stated that India will not engage with Pakistan at any level unless terror is nipped in the bud, saying that the only talks that India will have with Pakistan will be on terror as well as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Take a listen in.
अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर पीओके उस पर ही होगी।
All right, well, stern warning coming from Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his address to the nation last night at around 8 p.m. when he started speaking. Well, let's try and put this into context. We have with us Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, former India ambassador to the WTO, joining us this morning. Ambassador Dasgupta, good morning. Thank you so much for taking time out this Tuesday morning to be here with us. What are your key takeaways from Prime Minister Modi's stern warning to Pakistan that India will not succumb to nuclear bluff and India will not tolerate any blackmail?
Well, Pakistan has been very often mentioning implicitly the fact that they have nuclear weapons and that they will not desist from using it should they be pushed to the wall. The other point is that Pakistan has also been threatening us that they have these tactical nuclear weapons which can be used in the battlefield, which are not of the size of a bomb, but can cause extensive damage. That is the second point. So I think this nuclear threat had to be called because, Pakistan has been indulging in terror activities for the past few decades. And since 2016, of course, it has stepped up. There was a brief period of lull, I think, after 2019. But the terror camps have not been shut down. And I am reminded of something which the Pakistan minister mentioned just 2-3 days ago during a press conference. He said that these madrasas where thousands of these young men are studying are our second line of defense. Now, that is something which is very deeply ingrained in the psyche of the Pakistan army.
That's right.
And, of course, some of the Pakistan government functionaries, executive also.
Absolutely.
So this is the problem. And that is what Prime Minister Modi mentioned, that this nuclear blackmail will not work. We will call it off. Two, you do something and there will be immediate retaliation. We will not, in a sense, exercise strategic restraint, which we have been doing for many, many years.
That's
not
right.
Since 2016. Yeah.
Right. So, Ambassador Dasgupta, I also want to understand from you, DGMO level talks that were held at 5 p.m. India time yesterday, about 3 hours before Prime Minister Modi's address to the nation, where it was decisively decided that not a single shot will be fired from both sides. Yet, immediately after Prime Minister Modi's address to the nation ended, we did have reports of drones being sighted over Jammu's Samba district as well as Punjab's Jalandhar. What does this tell us about Pakistan and Pakistan continuing to try and cause havoc in India?
The first thing which comes to mind is that Pakistan just can't be trusted. And least so the Pakistan army and the armed forces, because they can do anything at any point of time. They are reckless. They are without any sense of honor. They can't keep their word. So that is something which we will have to factor in our day-to-day functioning and in our responses. Having said that, I think there were some drones which were sighted above Jammu and above Udhampur also. But they may not have been armed drones. So as far as the DGMO's, agreement goes, it was about no shot being fired. So no shots were actually fired across the border.
Right.
Or, no missiles were fired.
Right.
Drones also didn't use their, offensive weapons. So it's all right. They were trying to find out whether we have let down our guard because of the ceasefire, or whether we are still maintaining a high alert, because I think the anti-aircraft guns went into operation and shot down many of these drones.
Absolutely.
Yesterday night out.
Right. Ambassador Dasgupta, also please help explain to our viewers, there seems to be diplomatically a distinction between a ceasefire, a pause in hostilities and cessation of firing. India is not calling it a ceasefire just as yet. We are calling it a pause in our attack on Pakistan. What does this tell us, sir?
A ceasefire, once you have a declaration of war, of hostilities, and then you have something which is, signed and sealed, and that is a ceasefire. But the ceasefire may last, for an indefinite period. It may be there for only a short period, 7 days or something, to cover a festival or an important event, etc. In this case, the ceasefire is something which the details of which are not very clear. But the Indian Army has made it clear, and the Prime Minister, of course, was very forthright in his speech, that Operation Sindoor has not ended.
That's
it
right.
is continuing.
Right.
You, indulge in terror activities, we will respond. So it will be a part of the Operation Sindoor.
Got it. Ambassador Dasgupta, I also want to draw your attention to something that perhaps was missing from Prime Minister Modi's address yesterday, and that was about the role that the US had potentially and arguably played in what US calls the ceasefire, and India is just calling it a pause in hostilities. Before you answer that, let's listen in to what Donald Trump said just a few hours before Prime Minister Modi went on air with his address.
We helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on, we're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop. And they have. And they did it for a lot of reasons. But trade is a big one. We're going to do a lot of trade with Pakistan. We're going to do a lot of trade with India. We're negotiating with India right now. We're going to be soon negotiating with Pakistan. And we stopped the nuclear conflict. I think it could have been a bad nuclear war.
Ambassador Dasgupta, does Donald Trump require a reality check or does he need a fact check? Because he's also been a loudmouth talking about how this problem between India and Pakistan over Kashmir is centuries old. At times he has said it's 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old. Is he not read in? Does he not understand the severity? And does he believe that anything can be a deal and can be worked out with trade?
I think you have to give some concessions to President Trump for what he says, because he doesn't always know what he's saying, and two, he doesn't mean what he's saying in full. So to that extent, I think we have to discount some of the things which he says. As far as trade is concerned, Pakistan has a total exports of only about $30 billion and an import bill of $56 billion. Per annum. That was in the previous financial year. So even if you hold out the carrot of increased trade, Pakistan, apart from textiles and clothing and perhaps leather and a few other items, it is not a major exporter. So even if you hold out this carrot, this reward that, we will give you more trade, it is not going to take place.
Absolutely.
Pakistan doesn't have the capacity to do it. So I don't think this, President Trump has got into the habit since January of, using trade as a huge strategic weapon. But that is not going to work. And that has shown up in the deal that the US struck with China.
Absolutely.
From 145%, they have come down to 30%.